Hello again, Frank here with another Fantasy Grounds Unity Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition tutorial on character creation. Moving right along here with Noober the Fighter. Last time we talked about the Abilities tab. Now we're just going to talk about the Notes tab. This is where you fill out any general information on your character, typically pretty useful for the DM, but also very useful for the player, where you're going to help yourself keep your characters' personality quirks and whatever motivations they have for the campaign, or just in general, try to help you keep yourself on track with playing your character to the way they should be played. In this case, we have a dwarf, so he is going to be male. And there is an age button here. You can just type in whatever age, but just for the sake of going through the player's handbook, we're going to go back the main tab and open up the dwarf. So this is again pulling straight from the player's handbook. Just maximize or pull this open a little more so it's easier to read. Go back to the notes tab here. So we scroll all the way to the bottom. We can see some information just on the dwarves in general. And it talks about all the bonuses and such that they get. That they get. Unfortunately, it looks like the dwarf here does not have all of the tables listed that we kind of want to work with. I would like to kind of just show you how to do a random age and height and weight and such, since that is something that the player's handbook offers. So we're going to close this and we are going to go to books. We're going to open the player's handbook reference manual. Now, reference manual, if we go down to where it shows player character race, we're going to click on the races and just kind of look through here and see what we have. So if you look through here, we have ability score adjustments, we have dwarves. If we click on dwarves, it opens up essentially everything we saw when we clicked on the dwarves race in the player's, in the character sheet. But that's not helping us. So we're going to minimize this one. We're going to go down to other characteristics. Here we go. Now we have other characteristic details. Got some information in here. It just kind of tells you what you may want to know about your character, but I'm not going to go into that too much. So we're going to go to average height and weight table 10. Here we go. So we got the dwarf. Right? So we can see that the dwarf can have anywhere from 43 to 53 for their actual height in inches. And how do I know what I'm doing? Well, you see there's a slash here. That slash indicates whether it's male or female, and it says females tend to be lighter and shorter than males, though that's not always true, but just given averages, right? So not getting too wrapped around the axle of the instances where a woman might be taller than a man or what have you. So we're just going to stick with the law of average here, and since we are a male dwarf, we know that our base is 43, and then it says to add 1d10. I'm going to go ahead and roll that d10. And we got an 8. So we're going to add 8 to this, which will bring us to a 51. So, and this is in inches, as it states right here. So our height is 51 inches. And our weight for a dwarf is a base of 130 plus 4d10. Another thing you can do, I didn't really get into dice strings too much, but let's do that here, just to be silly. So if we go to roll 4d10, and we put in plus 130, it will roll the 4d10 and add the 130 for us. You're bad at math like me? This is a lifesaver. So now we can just drag the 161 right up here. Oops, excuse me, did not do that correctly. And just drop it. Oh, well, I lied. Can't do that on this one apparently. Usually you can. We'll type that in. We are done with our height and weight. Now let's look at age tables. Click on age, table 11. The base age for a dwarf is 40 years, with a variable of 5d6 years. And then it has a maximum age, which is the base plus this variable here. I don't typically get too wrapped around the axle on this, but since it's in the book, we're just going to go ahead and do this by the book. So we're going to use the same method down here that we did before. We are going to roll 5d6 plus 40 years. Hit enter. We're going to roll our 5d6. We are 57 years old. Click up here, 57. Now for our maximum age range, it's 250 plus 2d 100. Once again, we're going to roll 2d 100 plus 250 years. Enter. There you have it. This dwarf has a max age a max age range of 293 years. And the size for a dwarf is small. And that is going to be usually listed in the dwarves characteristics in here. You look here, they are average of 4 to 4.5 feet tall, and they're short and stocky, etc., etc. And we certainly fit into that. They're 51 inches, so we are small. Alignment. If you want to get really into alignment, you can go to the reference manual here, and in chapter 4 it talks about alignment. Law and neutrality, it breaks down extensively. Law and neutrality, chaos, and good, neutrality, and evil, it also breaks down. And then it talks about the 9 alignment combinations, and typically gives an example of some historical or fictional figure that best personifies the ideals of one of these alignments. Now, it's not always true that, you're going to be lawful good and always be the best that you can be, or be 100% lawful good. But these are important because if you look at many of the classes, like a paladin, for instance, must be lawful good. That kind of narrows it down. But a fighter, we go to the main tab here, open up the fighter. We look at alignment. There is nothing in here that tells us what alignments we must be. So that makes it easy. We can be whatever we want. If there was some sort of alignment restriction, it would be listed here. We don't have to worry about that, so we're just going to pick arguably the easiest alignment, which is going to be lawful neutral. And then for a deity, that'll be dependent upon your campaign. You just talk to your DM about what deities are available, or maybe you don't serve one, just put none. And then the rest of this is all just text, obviously. Any personality traits, your philosophies, any relationships you have, maybe some faults, your appearance, and then there's even a spot here for some additional notes. I wouldn't recommend putting too much craziness in here. There's a notes tab for that in records, which you can share with other players. And that wraps up the notes tab on the character sheet. Thanks for watching. See you next time.